Eye on Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community. Shout out to our sponsors at Icon Bet, open source decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. Icon Bet, made by the players, for the players. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Eye on Icon. This is the episode where we go around the Icon ecosystem, bringing on the best of the best teams and what they're building to talk about what they're building. And with us today, we have Icon Asset Management, IAM. We have Polo and Geo. This is not their first time on the show. They're regulars on the show now, their second appearance, so that's a regular. How are y'all today?
How's it going, guys? Everything's doing good. Nice weather over here in Canada, finally. So just enjoying some weather and trying to get out a bit.
Polo, good to hear. Geo, how about you?
Yeah, I'm unfortunately getting over a sinus infection, so you may hear a little bit of raspiness or mucus in my voice. You know, hopefully I'll mute myself before I make it too disgusting.
We don't hear it at all, so that's good. If you didn't tell us, we wouldn't know. And with us, as always, Iconographer, how are you today?
The weather's good where I am, and I don't have a sinus infection, so all good.
Good to hear. So, look, we're excited to have you on the show. You know, you're a P-Rep that has risen through the ranks very quickly. You're doing something very different and unique in the Icon ecosystem. But I don't want to spend much more time talking. There was a lot of interest from fans, put together a lot of questions around it. But tell us what Icon Asset Management is.
Okay, so basically, what Icon management is, as simple terms, it's just it's a portfolio of an index fund of sorts that we wanted to base around the Icon ecosystem. So we wanted a way for Iconists to basically have a risk-free portfolio that will pay them passive income for years to come, and we'll get into a little bit what I mean by risk-free a little bit later on. But that's in simple terms. I don't know if Gio wants to expand, how he always likes to get into the technical analysis of everything. So I'll leave it to him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the very gist of it. You know, we wanted to do something that a lot of other chains have, which are, you know, index funds or, you know, yeah, I mean, that's the best way to describe it, really. It's an index fund where you have a conglomerate or, you know, a bunch of different tokens under your fund, and, you know, you manage it and, you know, sell off to buy some other ones, and, you know, make sure that the fund is continually growing, or at least the best you can to make it continually growing. And, you know, it's a good way for people to put their money into a way of letting other people make the decisions for them. And, you know, we have a good track record behind us. You know, Paulo and I have been trading for a long time. We have a very good trading advisor as well on board here. So we think we know, you know, the tokens in this ecosystem, this blockchain ecosystem, pretty well to know which ones will outperform the others. And, you know, we're not looking for moonshots here. We're looking for a stable, steady increase.
So let's dive into that a bit more as far as detail concerned. So I guess kind of what are the mechanics of the fund? You know, kind of how does it work? How does it get funded? And obviously, you guys, I think everyone knows this, but there's a token associated with the fund. So just kind of maybe walk through the mechanics of that, and how people can currently go about getting a hold of that.
Yeah, sure. So when Paulo said risk-free, it is definitely risk-free if you want to just acquire tokens by staking your ICX on IconX or my Icon wallet. You can't do it through Balanced, unfortunately, because what you have to do is you have to take that staking and you have to vote it to our P-Rep. And if you vote your staked ICX to our P-Rep, then you'll actually get IAM free every day. Actually, we do distributions every day. And it's, you know, right now we do 600,000 IAM per month. So spread out per day, it's about 19,000 something IAM per day that goes out to our holders based upon the percent you have staked and voted to us. So that is the risk-free portion. We did do a couple private and public sales where people could buy IAM tokens and, you know, build their stack bigger and faster. So what happens in the way that the AUM, the assets under management, that's what we call the AUM, is built is, so we use the PREP rewards that we get from people voting for us. Right now, we currently use 40% of those to go into the AUM, and for us to use the ICX to, sell off to USDT, to buy other tokens, like we just did a $25,000 Ethereum buy and BTC buy back during the dip. So that was a good buy for us. We hold ICX, we hold TAP, we hold Balin, we hold some BNUSD, we hold some SICX. We got some smaller tokens such as PGT, which is a Pico and Bello token. We have some. I mean, I can go on and on, but needless to say, that's the portion that we get for free. And then when we do our sales, that money goes into the AUM to help us accelerate purchasing these tokens, to be able to grow the AUM faster, to be able to get to the portion of the AUM where we start giving back bigger dividends to the IAM holders. And I mean, I can go on forever. I don't want to, because obviously we're at the beginning of all this. But needless to say, most of our AUM has come from those two big sources, which are the PREP rewards and then the two sales that we've done so far.
And so I think a good analogy would be, and you kind of alluded to this already, but essentially, if in the traditional stock market, if I want to get, if I don't want to try to pick individual stocks or anything like that, if I want to get exposure to an entire market or entire sector, I can just buy one. SPY would be an example. It's just one quote unquote stock, one purchase, but it gives me exposure to the entire S&P 500. In this case, the IM token is essentially, if you're not sure, I don't know if ICX is going to be the biggest winner over time, or if TAP's going to be the biggest winner over time, or if one of the other tokens you list is going to be the biggest winner over time. It gives them overall exposure to basically the almost, I would say, a good chunk, if not the entire Icon ecosystem, rather than having to try and pick winners and losers. Is that a good way to kind of create an analogy?
That's a perfect analogy, and the best way to think about it, we have a total supply of 10 million IAM, and however much IAM you have is your percent ownership of what again we call the AUM, or assets under management, and so you own those, and whenever we liquidate either a portion of it, or at the end of the fund, if sometime in the next 10 years we decide to end the fund, that's the percent of that money that you'll get back to you. So really, go ahead.
That 10 million that's a hard cap. Is that correct?
10 million is a hard cap. It's not going to get any more than that. Yeah.
So at the moment, obviously, there's a bit of a plan in place how much of the node rewards gets rewarded back to voters versus goes into the AUM. With time, as time progresses, more and more will move to the AUM, or how's that piece work? Because the goal is eventually that the AUM is essentially giving back rewards of whatever dividends and stuff the AUM is earning. It goes to the token holders. Would that be correct?
Yeah. So the way it's set up right now, we have, so from the node rewards, we have 50% of the node rewards going back to voters. Then we have 40% going to the AUM and 10% going to IM token holders. So the dividends being paid out to actual IM token holders is the smallest right now, as we needed a way to build the fund, and we wanted, like we said, we wanted to do it risk-free. So we didn't want to just come out right away and sell a token to fund the AUM. So we had to figure out another way to do it. And, obviously we had to try to get votes to grow the fund from the node rewards. And one way was to give back to the voters, and also at the same time giving them IM tokens to show them, hey, there's more value in here than us just sharing part of our node rewards. As the time goes on, in about 2 years, our timeline, we have it, 60% of all the rewards or dividends will be paid to IM token holders, and 30% will be getting redistributed back into the AUM to keep growing it, and 10% will go to voters just to keep almost like kind of like a loyalty of a thank you for being with us for this whole time. And that 10% also it might seem small at the time, but it's not just of the node rewards; it's also of the AUM rewards. So when you're voting for us or you hold AIM tokens, you're earning from both pools, I guess you can call it. You're earning from the node rewards and you're earning from the assets under management.
Because once you mentioned you had Balanced and a few others. So if they're in the AUM and Balanced, we have a decent portion in the AUM and it's earning fees, that's going back to the AUM. That is essentially to the IAM holders, isn't it?
So not right now.
Okay.
And the reason why is because we want to grow our balanced holdings. Why would we want to cut our legs off at the beginning and start paying out dividends instead of growing them right now when it's the most, best time to start, continue to grow, buy back and get more? Because, we have a very high confidence that Balance will be valued at its, original $30-$40 plus sometime in the near future here, come a couple months. And so, if we start, giving all these, selling our Balance and giving these ICX as dividends back to our holders, it's really, like I said, cutting our legs off at the knees or shooting ourselves in the foot, whatever, metaphor, analogy you want to use. So right now we're growing everything because, it's a long-term token. IAM is not supposed to be a moonshot. It's not supposed to be, hey, get it and flip it in 2 months. It's supposed to be hold on to it. And in 2-3 years, you can start getting enough dividends where you may not need to work anymore. And, honestly, if you're a third, world country, you may be living off of IAM, comfortably. So that's where we really, the whole free, get IAM free stuff came, is because we know that everyone can't just purchase, spend a lot of ICX to purchase stuff. So we wanted to give people the ability to get it free as well. And, it really was like a community token where, join us, vote for us, and we'll give you something that will start paying you out, a good amount of dividends in the future.
Yeah, love it. Look, I meant the balance, staking the balance token and earning the network fees, etc. So, you'd be building a huge pool, and once that happens and the rewards are distributed, it goes back into the AEM. It's like a great little circle, the circle of life, only the circle of the IAM token just compounding in value. I love it.
Yeah.
And I assume,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I assume you guys are going to have a potentially similar approach for OMM once that comes out as well, too, correct? Potentially.
Yeah, of course. We want to, like, everything Icon, that's, our first goal is obviously our holders, to make sure, they're taken care of and that the AUM's doing well. And our second goal is to keep reinvesting into Icon. We believe in Icon. We're on the Icon Bet team. We also have our own developer team that we make things for Icon. So we really want to keep reinvesting into Icon. We're gonna, every project that comes out, we'll try to get involved in it. We have 2 of us are now in the Epic beta testing, so we're waiting for that to come out to play around there and try to get that into the AUM if possible.
And there was actually speaking of that, there was actually a really cool idea to have Epic contests for IAM, because IAM technically is like an asset management. So, we could say, okay, well, the person who makes the most, and you could do it virtually. You don't have to do it, where you use real money or whatever, but, pick 3 coins or something. And the person who would make the most in the end wins, let's say, 50 ICX or something, or 50 IAM, for that matter. So it's like, we want to connect to these other dApps that are coming out, especially, obviously we're in Balance now, Epics soon, all that kind of stuff. So like Paulo was saying, it's really about ICX and Icon and building up the network as much as possible.
John, True Crypto, that's one of your questions answered right there. Okay, thank you, Gio. That was great coverage.
So you guys have done a couple called DTOs. I don't know if you came up with that term or if that someone else did. If that's been floating around, do you just want to kind of give an update on how those went, how many there have been, and to what extent you guys have any plan for the future?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure we made up the term. We were just kind of throwing words around and came up with the DTO, Decentralized Token Offering. But we've had the initial one, which was the private and public one. We had 750,000 tokens total that we ended up selling to IAM holders. It surprised us how quick they went. I think both sales went within an hour, and the tokens were sold out. So that was a good confidence boost to the team, knowing that, okay, we're doing something right and the community's behind us, and let's keep trying to push forward. Then we had a surprise DTO, just because, we wanted to take advantage again of balanced. And so we thought, okay, let's use 200,000 of the reserve AIM and get those funds so we could get right into balance and keep growing, because we see the value in it. And unfortunately, that took a little bit longer than an hour, because the market did have a little dump on the day that we actually
only 50%.
Yeah, only a little bit, not too bad. So it took a little bit longer, but all the tokens did end up selling, and 100% of the funds went right into the AUM, which what Gio was talking about is when we bought the BTC and ETH, we used some of those funds to purchase it. I can't remember the exact amount. I think we picked up BTC at around 32.
I think it was about 14,000 in each of them.
Yeah. And ETH was, I think it could have been under 2,000 when we bought it.
I think it was like 23 or something.
I'll double check
22, that. Something like that.
Lower than it is at this moment, at least. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the DTO sales went pretty good overall.
Okay, so how many more of these DTO sales have you got planned? And the reason why I asked this is there's been a few questions come through around that nature, and even I was reflecting on it, because there would only be a certain amount you would do until, I guess, there's a listing.
Yeah, so we have one more planned, and for the private side of it, it's for the April and May voters. And one thing to like how the DTO even came about was people were so interested in purchasing AIM. We never planned it from the start. This wasn't something that was in our roadmap, but just from the community asking and wanting it so bad, we had to try to figure a way to I guess help out the community and give back. And that's originally why we even had these original DTOs. So the first one was for the March voters, and then people that missed it, we planned another one for the April and May voters, which will be happening sometime after August.
Then I guess let's talk about, and this is something I noticed right from the start, probably there was a lot of questions, so I thought let's use this interview as an opportunity to clear the air about the team's held supply. So tell us what is the split at the moment, and why are you holding so much? I think you've already kind of shown, certain aspects that have come up and what the reasons are, but it would be good to hear you talk through them.
Yeah, for sure. I know many people questioned it at the start when they seen the number. It was at 60% when we first launched. So some of the reason, so right now we're at 52.5% because of the DTOs that was used from the team funds. So when we said the team holds 60%, it's not necessarily that we own 60%. It's we knew that there was going to have to be more expenses or DTOs or an exchange listing that funds were going to have to come from. We're coming from the Icon Bet team. We've seen how things there worked, and all the tap there was mined, and Icon Bet never raised any funds or had funds and had to depend on its tap members for like marketing or promotions. A lot of people don't know that in the early days of Icon Bet, when we ran promotions, it was the tap holders who donated or gave their own ICX for those prizes. So that's something that we took into consideration with AIM, knowing if we just gave away everything and we held on to a smaller amount, how would we raise funds later for other things in AIM? Whether it be marketing or whether it be promotions or even just for bigger investors later on in the future. So the plan was never for us to hold 60% forever. We plan to hold no more than 30% by the end of it. And the other 30% is going back to DTOs, like I said. We'll be going to exchange listings. And even if we need to bring on another advisor or we need to pay someone to develop something, because we do have some cool things that we're thinking of, which I don't know if we can get into this show, but maybe in a future one. So yeah, the 60% is just the team holding for themselves. Yes, we will hold up to 30%, but also to reinvest in AIM and the whole project.
Okay, that's great. So the next thing I was going to lead to, okay, you got a couple more GTOs planned, but and I know from past conversations, a listing, like we're talking exchange listing, but what about when I say think exchange, I think traditional exchanges, but so I'll clarify, I'm thinking AMMs, balanced or unify. Is there talks, some timelines around when we will see the IM token listed on those platforms?
There's not any specific or estimated times right now. We don't want to, like, with any token, especially in a volatile market, we know that, like, especially right now, if we probably listed this token on, say, Unify, it would dump because people love free cash and they don't trust the market right now. And that really won't do any good in terms of, what we want for the token. The token is supposed to be a holding token. It's not supposed to be, yeah, see, they agree too. And so it's right now we're kind of like not really pursuing any tradable exchanges for that particular reason, because it's not really the ethos of the token.
Yeah, I imagine too, you guys are still in the process in relatively early days of distribution, so there's not a super high amount of liquidity either. And on both those situations, you not only need, a lot of people wanting to buy or sell in order to kind of create a healthy market, but you also need a lot of people who are willing to deposit their IAM into one of those AMMs to provide enough liquidity. But if there aren't a whole lot of tokens floating around there, and if there aren't a whole lot of tokens that people are willing to use, it's another reason why early on it might be tricky to, you don't want to launch too early just for that reason. It's just, the overall liquidity and the overall supply out and floating about. I'm not sure if that's exactly the reason you guys are thinking of beyond kind of what you just talked about, but I have noticed that being a potential problem on other tokens that just don't have a whole lot of them floating around quite yet.
Oh, it is for sure. And I can tell you, based upon our TAP experience, it's kind of sad too, because we worked really hard to get divs for the TAP tokens on Unify to go into the pool, meaning, if you put TAP on Unify, it counts as like staking in a way. So your TAP in there will get its percent of the dividends sent to the Unify pool for TAP ICX, and no one put in. And part of the reason is because it also takes ICX. So it's a pair, right? So you have to put in 1 million TAP, and you have to put in 7,000 ICX. And a lot of people who have TAP don't really have 100,000, 100,000 extreme, but 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 ICX just sitting around, that they could put into a pool.
Yeah, that's one of the issues too, right? And
yeah,
also,
exactly.
If you look with TAP, for the example, I keep going back to the Icon bet thing, but something that we use to, like, our experience to build AIM is 92% of TAP is staked. So there's only 8% of the supply that could possibly be available for an exchange. And that low liquidity, even when people ask, where do I buy? You kind of have to tell them, well, don't make sure you don't buy too much at once or sell too much at once, because the slippage is going to be so big, and you're either going to get underpaid, or you're going to overpay for the token. So we don't want that to happen for AIM, because we've seen it happen for TAP already, and we've adjusted and tried to make changes for TAP, like he was saying about the dividends getting paid right to the pool. But it's still it's something to watch out for, and you don't want to, I guess, make a mistake by listening too early if it's not really necessary.
Agree. And now that you mention it too, one of the members did bring up, and we do think it's a good idea as well, is in the future, I don't want to say a time, but we will have staking for IAM as well, where, if you don't stake your IAM, then you won't be collecting the divs. And part of the reason is because there is a lot of wallets from Icon Fee especially that really don't even know they have IAM, and it's considered dust, really. It's like 0.00001 IAM or something, and it will help reduce the cost to pay out dividends and help to reduce a lot of the costs that, like, the network fees that could go back to the AUM. Actually, now that we saw a surprise visitor over here on the corner, Shik joined. Shik and I have definitely been working pretty much every day on how to reduce and optimize our assets under. What did he just leave?
So you called him out and now he left.
I know, right?
Scared him.
And I'm like, what are you doing?
Wait,
He wanted to lurk.
Oh, there
Is
we
he
go.
trying to get his mic to work or something?
Just joined again.
Hey,
Hello. That was very bad timing.
And so, like I was saying, we've been working on reducing the fees for distributing ICX and IAM every day, because we're up to something like 30 ICX per day to distribute. Now, partially it's because our token, it weighs too much at the moment with a lot of data. And so we've actually figured out how to get it down. And the fees, I believe, would be, like, I almost want to say around 5 ICX now per day, which is a huge difference from the 30 ICX we're paying. So we're going to be pushing that really soon and saving the AUM a lot of money.
That's
Schick just hopped on. Do you just want to introduce yourself real quick and just kind of say what your role with IAM is?
Yeah, so thank you guys for finally allowing me to talk.
I don't know who let him out of his cage, but
I think Paulo was pro me talking, but I don't know about Gio. Gio tends to kind of just keep me behind the computer. So basically, like you guys said, I'm Shikamaru. Originally kind of worked with these guys on a couple Icon Bet stuff. So I'm like the score developer for Sportsbook and then like slots and a couple other games. And I helped co-found IM with these guys and doing the same thing, score development. So I came up with kind of the scores for the token and the and the distribution stuff. So yeah.
Cool. Fez, I cut you off, so I'll let you continue with what you were saying. Sorry about that.
No, I lost my train of thought. Look, thanks for joining us, Schick. It's great to have you on board as well. So, look, I wanted to go back. I think, Gio, one of the questions, and I'm glad you mentioned this, there's a lot of concern around your workload, Gio. Everyone comments around this, specifically around, I believe you process, or you or the team process the payments manually every day. Is that the case?
No.
Okay,
So
clear that up.
It was in the beginning for the first couple of weeks while we were building the AUM contract, the smart contract. But now we have a service that runs 24/7. That I don't want to say a time because people could try to game the system. That was a big thing back in the day. But every some amount of time, it takes a snapshot of all of our voters and stores that information in a database. And then at the end of the day, when the term turns over, it then takes an average of every voter's vote for the day and then distributes the IAM based upon the percentage of their votes for the day, of the total votes. And then that service is what runs the smart contract, because unfortunately smart contracts don't have a heartbeat. They're actually not alive, and they have to be triggered from an external source. So right now, I'm hoping 2.0 might change that a little bit. We'll see. But so right now we have, again, like I said, a server that runs a service that every day at the end of term, it will, run the distributions. And, that's currently actually what Schick and I are working on optimizing to reduce the amount of fees. So I do not do that manually every day. That would, my wife would kill me. She almost did before that got implemented. So.
No, look, that's a great overview, and I think the fees point is a good call out. So from 30 to 5, that's a huge change in the distribution fees, and I know that was also a question raised, and concerns. How do we mitigate some of those fees that are coming?
Yeah, and I want to say real quick, it wasn't 30 the whole entire time that we've been doing this. It actually has grown over the time because of to get a little technical, we had what they call a database in the smart contract in our token contract that was storing the list of all our holders. And obviously, as the list of holders grew, then it had more data in it, and that's it's called weight. When you talk in terms of a smart contract or an object, how much weight does it have? And as every token gets transferred, it has to touch that contract, that token contract, which means that it was getting very heavy to transfer IAM. So we're fixing that, and it should be fixed in the next couple of days here.
One of the other points just in the discussion we were having around the AMM listings. I feel very conflicted around this point. I noticed in the Icon ecosystem there's very much a concern around liquidity providing and the implications due to staking, etc. However, like, that's the whole point of the AMMs, though. It is a free market, and the market decides, and it's something the ecosystem has to get used to. Like, your biggest AMMs on Ethereum are out trading Coinbase, etc. So there's something there. So I'm keen to see. I think part of it as well is just how easy the listing process is on some of those AMMs on some of the other chains. I know we have some restrictions around. It's not as simple as any user can go and list a token, because that's the only thing stopping currently anything on the Icon ecosystem from being listed, because the process around listing isn't you can't just go and list a token that the protocol hasn't got there already. Whereas on Ethereum, these systems, I could just make up a Fezbox token and go and put it on Uniswap and put some ETH there and start making money. I mean, yeah, it's rubbish and I'm scamming people.
99% of the tokens are, so it wouldn't be any different.
Exactly. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see once that ability does come into some of the AMMs on Icon, what happens there, because then any user can go and start listing and have y'all thought about that? What would happen if because I know in Balance they've talked about enabling such a thing where anyone can go and list a token pair. Once that does happen, how would that impact the IM token getting listed on AMMs?
I mean, we don't have like any kind of hatred towards getting IAM listed. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, we just see though that I believe it was Iconographer who said that once it gets listed, well, that kind of affects our DTOs, right? And our DTOs are kind of really what's spurring this growth in our AUM right now and allowing us to take advantage of things like early balance launch, early AUM launch. I know there's another one, Equality launching as well. So there's all this stuff that we want to have the assets, the ICX or the BNUSD or whatever it may be, to take an early advantage for these these new dApps. If we're sitting here, we have to wait because liquidity is too low to sell our token or whatever, or we don't even sell any through a DTO anymore. Then it's like, okay, now it's just a matter of time that we have to wait to grow those funds in order to take advantage, which doesn't do anyone any good. It doesn't help the IAM token holders. It doesn't help the Icon ecosystem. So really, the listing, in my opinion, it's going to be listed, plain and simple. It's not going to be a exclusive private token forever. It's just right now we feel that, again, that we want to grow your assets, the IAM holders' assets, as much as possible, as fast as possible.
And the other similar vein too, right? So like, say right now, say I'm really bullish on the future of IAM tokens. And right now I can only get them two ways. I can do the DTO, which you just mentioned the merits of, or I can vote for you guys as a PREP team. And and that's a big part of your pulling in a lot of revenue for you guys now, both in terms of dividends and in terms of just providing further assets as the rewards you get as a PREP. Whereas if I know, I can either vote for them or I can just go buy it for, what I think is maybe relatively cheap on the open market, I'd rather just go do that and then go vote for somebody else. So that's the other side of the incentive structure, as why a listing might not be necessarily in the best long-term interest of the project. Hopefully I got that right.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like you're trying to say, we're trying to grow a portfolio, right? And if we're listing it, when people are buying and selling, it's not doing the AUM any good. It's not doing IM token holders any good. It's just people trading the token after and making their money on it, which everyone's in it for the money, obviously. But our goal is to build the AUM, and that would deter from doing that, and it would actually probably most likely hurt IM holders for the the short term. Long term, it probably won't have an effect. But like Gio was saying, we're trying to get into all these new products that are launching on Icon, right? So by just putting it on an exchange and not having these DTOs and not having the node rewards, it would hurt our short-term growth of the AUM.
No, I think guys, you've covered that really well and helped put a lot of perspective around that. At the end of the day, one thing that everyone needs to remember is the Icon ecosystem is just flourishing now, and you're kind of in that position to go, okay, here we have a fair bit of our assets locked away so that we can really capitalize on this and become decent stakeholders in all of them, which is great. Again, exactly why people are holding the token in the first place. So yeah, really good. Really, thank you, Gio, Polo, for really clearing that up, and I'm sure all the listeners will get a lot of value out of that. I noticed in the chats and the questions come through that you have talked about a DAO of some kind, possibly. Now, I know it may not be at stages to be revealed, but could you give us anything and some insights as to why you're thinking a DAO, what advantages, what kind of a role it would play for Icon Asset Management?
Sure, I can talk a bit about that. So there's not a lot detailed out right now, but and I know one of the questions, which is a controversial question because it could, be taken any way, which is, how do we know? How can we trust the owners, to not just steal the AUM, right?
Yes.
And so right now,
or if something happens to,
Well, if something was to happen, it would happen to all three of us because we all three have access to the AUM, and that's for a reason. That's so that if something does happen to one person, there's at least two others to do it. If something happens to two people, heaven forbid, then obviously the third can still do it. At that point, I would say the third would just most likely probably liquidate and say, hey, I can't do this on my own. Here's all your money back, kind of thing. But that's like catastrophic, end of world, anyways. And I doubt virtual currency or real currency will matter at that point. At that point, just go out and grab a bunch of sticks and rocks and start throwing it at people.
Yeah, and don't nobody ride in the same car together or anything like that either.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, we live far enough apart from each other. Maybe. I don't know. When we do our Vegas or Thailand trip, we might have to give the key to someone else. But needless to say, that's kind of the point of the DAO. Is in 2.0. I've been talking with Bong and Spleen as well, and actually it was on the dev channel, the Icon dev channel. Someone brought it up. But having the ability to lock down a contract or have the contract not be able to be changed, updated, etc., by any specific person. And right now, unfortunately, in Icon 1.0, there's no way to do that. There's always going to be a super user, the owner, who will be able to make updates to the contract and change things. And you just kind of have to trust that person. It just is how it is. But 2.0, they do say there will be the ability to not have an owner for a contract. So it's almost like Ethereum, where you release the contract and you cannot make updates to it. You literally have to fork it and have something where you can move the assets to another contract that you fork. And I mean, there will be a lot of new process and everything around that. But going back to the DAO, that's why we want to go DAO, is because we don't want to be fully in control of everything in the future. At the beginning, yes, because we want to grow the AUM as much as possible, and we really are great at financially handling the blockchain, and so we're going to take control of that, start it up, and then eventually, once it gets big enough and we have this DAO interface, then we're going to leave it to the people who really believe in IAM, the people who hold a good amount of IAM tokens, to start voting on which assets they want to get into. Say all of a sudden Ethereum jumps up 10 times and they go, hey, we should probably get out of Ethereum and put it into BTC, or we should probably get out of Ethereum and put it into XYZ. It doesn't matter, right? So they'll be able to make proposals and be able to do those kind of things where the smart contract will be able to handle that, because it won't be Ethereum, it'll be IF, the Icon Ethereum. Or we can use BTP in the future, which will be very exciting as well, to be able to handle a smart contract on Ethereum that holds our Ethereum, rather than having to have it on the Icon network. But needless to say, it's supposed to be again a group or community is the best way to put it, because that's what we build. Is we build communities. It's supposed to be a community token and a community effort. So while we're going to grow it as best as we can to start and keep it growing, we eventually want, and I got to say, in all honesty, we've had discussions in the chats, and we don't discourage any discussions of, hey, have you looked at this token? Have you looked at that token? And of course, things are going to get heated sometimes because you got your fanboys for every kind of token out there. But we do listen and we do take, talk and discuss. And, there's never a time where we're like, no, we think this is the best way to do it and that's how we're going to do it, kind of thing.
Okay, that's great. So one of the other questions, since we're talking through that, so the DAO is going to help mitigate some of those, most of those concerns and really have the community have their say, which is great. Last question that Magician had sent through was, are there any plans to form a registered company in the future?
So, the goal is obviously to build this AUM to, who knows, billions of dollars. And that's not going to be able to be anonymous, just plain and simple. We've looked into where to register, a company at and all that kind of stuff to best for taxes and whatnot. But yes, we will be making this a legit legal entity, kind of thing. And obviously, we may have to do it sooner than later because of all the regulations that are happening in different countries in regards to cryptocurrencies. Obviously, we're not going to do it in China because they've banned it 1,000 times now. But yeah, we get that there's the talk of, legal this, legal that, la 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 la, but really, look at 90% of this cryptocurrency world and it really, there's no legalities to any of it. Really it's all based upon trust and understanding and belief. It really is kind of a belief thing at this point.
That's good. One of the thoughts when you were talking through Geo, what about Icon Nation's multi-sig wallet? Could that be used in some way to create a little bit of security, or is that completely different and not something can be used in the IM perspective?
So I've talked to Spleen about it a little bit. I don't know if it can be used as a contract. And that's the thing, is our asset under management is a smart contract. So it's not just a wallet. If it can be used in a contract, great, then, but again, the problem is that with any smart contract, people, you listen to this, I know people, even someone questioned balance the other day and stuff. Any contract can be updated by its owner, and it can be changed, it could be adjusted, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. You can't lock contracts, you can't, do anything like that. It's a decentralized network. 2.0 coming out, you'll be able to, do differently, but right now with 1.0, it literally is about trust, and you put trust in us, you put trust in the balance team. Balance team is consistent of 5 teams that have been here pretty much for the entire time Icon has been, a thing. And we've been here, the Icon Bet team, me and Paulo have been here since, early 2017, or I've been Icon since ICO even, but I wasn't as active. So really it's about trusting us to know what we're doing, trusting us to want to build Icon better and, to just keep going. And a lot of the world is like that. I had an argument with someone the other day on a chat about how you really have to trust anywhere you put your money. If you put your money in a bank, you're trusting that the bank is going to store your money, which they don't. They actually use it in other investments, in case people didn't know. And so if the bank goes bankrupt, well, you don't have any money. And they said, well, the government's going to cover it. And it's like, well, not every government covers funds from banks, So there's a lot of trust in this world that you put into people, and you really have to understand that crypto is no different. Crypto is the same thing. It's not infallible. There are scams out there, but there's also scams in the real world. And people like to try to consider them different for some reason. And I just don't get that. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's a shift of perspective. I know what you mean. I've heard the bank argument thrown at me as well, and I laugh these days. But yeah. Anyway, okay. So what about now the team? I remember from the early days. We were talking about a website dashboard that is going to be built that essentially displays all the assets. Can you give a bit of an overview exactly what you're envisioning that to be and how it will work?
And I want to preface that by pointing out that you guys currently put out kind of quasi-regular reports, basically saying, here's what we have under management. Here's kind of the valuation of each token. You guys have been putting them out on Medium. That's correct, right?
Correct. And we post the links and we post Twitter posts about them. And I mean, our whole thing is about transparency. We know, we say the token address of the IAM token. We say the contract address of the AUM, contract. We even put out our balanced, address. We're all about transparency, and anyone can watch and be like, hey, why are you guys doing this or that kind of thing? And we'll happily answer. Like we had a guy asking, hey, why did my rewards drop, this month or something? And, part of the reason was that because we lost votes to balanced, it's just plain and simple. And then the other part was that we have to take, a certain percentage of ICX for maintenance. We pay $500 for our server every month to be maintained, the node. And, it's got a, 24/7 watch on it, and it's all handled by, what do they call themselves now? Hold on one second. By Rob. He used to be Insight, but now it's called another company here. He formed another company. 1 second. Geometry. And I mean, they're doing amazing things, by the way. They had a CPS where they're going to have a relay that will just, instead of having to, well, this is getting a little technical, but needless to say, they maintain our server. It's $500 every month. We're transparent about that. Again, we have fees to pay for every transaction for sending ICX and IAM divs. So, I mean, those are where a lot of the money goes from, not a lot of money, I say it's 3% of the PREP rewards go to, until someone asks, and it's like, well, yeah, that's where it goes. And obviously, if ICX is $2.50, we need less. But if it's, 125, we need more. So it fluctuates and it changes. But we're very transparent, and it's all about that. But now about the dashboard. The dashboard right now is actually, it's kind of cool. And actually, we've done our sales through the dashboard. You had to use the dashboard to buy IAM. And the reason for that was because we didn't want bots. So we actually found a way to combat the bots. And that was that we have an approval system, that we have an admin wallet that the website controls, where you actually, the website will send an approval to the DTO contract to say, hey, this guy's going to buy this amount of IAM for this amount of ICX, watch out for this. And it actually knows the transaction hash. And so then it sends the transaction that they sign through. It, checks for the pre-approval. It's good. Okay. Then everything's good. So if you try to buy IAM through the DTO through a script, because you're trying to, outrun other people through a bot, it would just reject it. You couldn't do it. So needless to say, our dashboard is actually pretty cool. And it's very simple right now, but it has some cool functionalities. But yeah, the vision is to be able to log in, see, your IAM, see your divs that you're going to be getting, you're expected to be getting, see what assets are, that we control in the asset under management contract, see how they're progressing over the course of every month, in increasing value, decreasing value, whatnot, the overall, increase or decrease in the assets held. So yeah, it's really like an asset portfolio. They give you a log on to E-Trade, and you want to check how your portfolio is doing. And that's what our vision is of this. Now, unfortunately, because we don't have Ethereum on ICX or on Icon yet, BTC on Icon yet, it makes it a lot harder, and it's kind of just a manual process. And so I actually just updated the website with the percents of the funds that we hold right now. And so really it's kind of waiting for that connection, that, as they call it, interlopability, right? With BTP and with bridge coming and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where the dashboard is at a standstill. We'll still add some cool things to it here and there, like being able to see, you actually can see how much IAM you have there. You can see ICX too. It's based upon the My Icon wallet code that they have open sourced. So you can connect your ledger, you can view, everything, between your ledger, your Icon X wallet, that kind of stuff. You can send, receive, all that kind of stuff. But needless to say, it's still a project in progress, and we're waiting for a couple bigger projects to finish so that we can make it even better.
Yeah, that's great. I assume, I shouldn't assume, but part of the dashboard, because it logs into your wallet, I'm hoping that when it detects, say, how big your stash of IAM tokens, it shows you the overall portfolio of the AUM, and then kind of your rate. Would it be able to show ratios in terms of dividends, etc., based on your stash? Is that something that may happen, or am I just jumping the gun here?
Yeah, no, that I mentioned that, but I'm talking a lot, so it probably got
Cool.
missed. You'll have to re-listen to this again. No, to answer your question, yes,
Okay.
it will have like estimated divs expected, per your IAM amount and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Very detailed answer to that one. That's good. Okay, so with the AUM, and you've touched on this, but to clarify, would you be looking as well at the digital assets of gold, silver, even Polo, for example, Realty, where you can buy tokenized real estate, etc. And Min and Ricky keep hinting. There's been so many hints. I'm sure it's coming through to fruition soon. But real estate on Icon. Are we thinking the same thing? You'd look to expand and pull those into the AUM?
Oh, yeah, 100%. The goal, obviously, at the start was all Icon related things, and crypto. Obviously, that's the industry we're in. But once we're able to buy stocks, gold, real estate, is definitely something we want to add to the AUM. We don't just want to be 100% crypto. We would love to diversify, have more real life things. Crypto kind of is real life, but not non-digital, but digital tokens of stocks. I know you can buy Tesla and Coinbase on Binance already. So things like that. And yeah, the Realty thing is awesome. I hope it comes to Icon. We get something like that too. And that's definitely something we'd be very interested in. Obviously, real estate's been a hot commodity for the last decade, and long term, it always brings great returns.
I feel that we've thrown quite a lot. Another good one that was mentioned by John is, you did announce one of the games. Which one was it? Jungle? I remember Jungle being
Jungle Jackpot.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Jungle Jackpot. Now, is there other games planned? Is poker on the list by chance? And can you explain how these dividends will be spread out? So how does it's just 10% that just gets thrown into the AUM, or whatever the percentage is of the profits of the games?
Hey now, don't be giving away more percent than we said.
That's whatever it is. I threw it. Whatever it is.
He's trying to dictate it now. He's like 10%, right, guys? Right?
So the first game we did announce was Jungle Jackpot, and with the last DTO announcement, we also announced that we will be putting in poker and sportsbook a percent that we haven't released that yet into the AUM as well.
Yep.
So the way it'll work is just like Icon Bet. So this is our developer dividends that we get from our games that we build for Icon Bet, which is 20% of the excess of these games. And so what happens is we get the 20%, and then it's going to go to a contract, so it's all controlled and it's all automated. And then that contract will then forward the percent that the AUM holds of our tokens, because each game that we develop, we create a token for, so that we can do our rev split between the developers of that specific game. So like Jungle Jackpot is me, Paulo, Schick, and Atomic. So we're all going to hold a certain amount of those tokens for that game, and then when the dividends get paid for the 20% to the contract or the token, it automatically gets spread out. So then what's going to happen is we're going to give the AUM some of those tokens, so then it'll automatically collect its percentage of that 20%. And that's exactly what will happen with sportsbook and poker as well, where as the profits come in and the excess comes in, the AUM will just get the ICX from its percent of that 20%.
Yep, that's great.
And just to kind of touch on that point too, I think having the specific like rev share dividends of the games is like a pretty, I would say, obviously a unique concept for a kind of like a portfolio to hold, but it kind of reduces the risk of like tap prices and what will eventually be like the liquid sports LQD token. But instead of those two tokens kind of fluctuating the price of our like our holdings, we basically are receiving revenue for free in terms of you didn't have to pay for these tokens, but anytime, say, Jungle Jackpot makes 1,000 ICX in excess, you're getting whatever percentage of that. So you're not relying exactly on the tap token to appreciate. You're just getting these divs for free. So it's like a unique, I would say, like almost like a risk management diversification tool, whereas it's not a token that really has an inherent value. You can't really put a value on that token, but it's still going to be providing everyone that holds IM excess dividends. So that I know Paulo and Gio are pretty excited about the kind of the milestone payouts and whatnot, but I think one of the biggest things that we kind of announced lately was getting those revenue tokens from poker and sportsbook, because I think those can be worth maybe even more in the future.
Yeah, that's a good point. Real quick, go ahead, Paulo. You can go ahead since I've been talking a lot.
I was just going to kind of build on what he was saying about the revenue from the games. They're net positive. It's a net positive to the AUM. Basically, you're not worrying about the token going up in value or how's it gaining divs. It's rather you're making money or you're not. There's no losing money with the dividends of these games, which it is a very big thing for the AUM. It's something that, because we are part of that team, like Gio was saying, we create these games. We donated those percent to the AUM at no cost. It cost no IM to the AUM. It was no money was taken out. So it was a positive at the start, and it'll be a positive ongoing, hopefully forever.
Yeah, it was funny actually. Someone commented in the chat and they said, "What's the catch?" Literally, they said, why are you just giving away, tokens that are going to be worth money, and from the dividends? And we're like, there is no catch, and if you want to know a catch, it's to make IAM more successful. Plain and simple. If IAM is successful, then we benefit from it too. But our whole goal is to make other people successful as well. We've brought in, we started GPS as me, Paulo, and Schick, and actually, I started building games before Paulo and Schick came on, and we all came together and we're like, hey, why don't we form a team? Okay, cool, form a team. Then we brought on Atomic, and now we're bringing in, a potential investor to build, actual company to start building these games, and not just for Icon Bet, but for Icon as well. It's like, we don't want to just become rich, and hoard all the money. I mean, that doesn't, for me at least, in my morals in life, it just won't feel good, because I want people to feel good with me. Why would I want to step on the guy beside me when I can hang out with him and drink some beers?
I think, look, I know very early on when it started, this was very much a conversation of, Aon team, etc., etc. But when I saw this kind of what you did with the gaming, and I knew it was coming from the dev component, to me that was very much, that should put fear aside. You didn't have to kind of connect those dots and try to incorporate it into IAM. It was just kind of a next step from the team into showing their commitment to the actual project, and it is for the people, and there's no sinister, evil plot in the background trying to capture everyone's money and just run off. Look, to me that was a real good eye-opener, just doing that, and I agree with what Schick said before as well. It's such a different risk perspective, just a complete variation and getting a source of income from something completely different. It's great.
And just one more thing on that too is I think one thing that like token holders need to keep in mind too is, in terms of like a portfolio allocation standpoint, by getting these kind of rev tokens, we are basically getting free exposure to TAP and LQD, which are assets that we would have been buying anyways. So we're getting free exposure to that. And by getting free exposure, that means that we're going to have more excess funds to be putting towards upcoming launches like AUM and whatever other tokens come out, more ICX going towards balance. So it's not just like the fact that we're getting dividends from these tokens, but that's kind of freeing up some allocation for us to put towards whatever we want to put it towards. So a lot of this too, and I know we kind of started off with like a heavy allocation towards TAP, but the end goal is to have a diversified portfolio where we have maybe 5% in TAP, and then we have exposure to all these assets. Because I think in terms of portfolio management, that makes the most sense. And this gives us opportunities to take advantage of whenever we see like this recent market downturn that we were able to buy ETH and Bitcoin. So I think it gives us more flexibility in terms of portfolio management.
Yeah, I mean, actually, to go on that, and if you don't want to go to the site because you're just lazy or whatever, our actual percentages right now, based upon our ICX values, are 15% TAP, 25% Balance, 15% F, 15% BTC, and 30% USD. I mean, so right now we're actually pretty evenly distributed between a lot of different tokens.
Yeah, that's a great split. So what is it tallying up to total? Do you have a figure off the top of your head?
100%.
No. I meant dollar value.
We'll have another Medium article out soon. Unfortunately, obviously, with the drop, it did lose dollar value. But that's why we hold a decent amount of USD, which we actually made a good move about a week before the drop. And so we pulled out a lot of the pools on Balance and stuff, but we didn't know it was going to drop. We just, we're looking at the market and everything and the sentiment and stuff. And so we actually saved a lot of money, saved from losing a lot of money in that regard. So I think we're still around probably like 250,000 in USD in the assets under management. But we'll release another Medium article soon and kind of give another update on that.
Gio, I don't mean to expose you on the podcast, but you're missing one major asset on the website. Probably the most important asset of all.
What's that?
ICX.
Oh, I guess that's true.
A large exposure, so
we do have a large exposure there as well. I mean, it's not like 50% per se, but I mean, again, we're in a lot of tokens, and I'll get that up on the website. Now that he called me out on it.
I think it's a given, isn't it? Like, of course there's ICX that it's running on.
that's our like, yeah, it's funny because we have USDT, but we don't have ICX, right? Because it's kind of, we think ICX is literally the money, in this world because that's what we run off of.
Yeah, and even to kind of point out on that too, I don't think we might have a small portion of it as collateral right now on Balance, but I think this is pretty more of Paulo's sort of area, but I think a large portion of our ICX allocation right now is towards like a balance pool. So our ICX is at work, and we have still the whatever 10% daily dividends that goes towards the AUM is being staked automatically. So I think we have like 3,500 ICX that's just been staked and stuff like that. So I think it is important still to kind of point out that while we are invested in assets on the Icon network, we also have a large allocation to the network itself.
Oh, for sure. I think we have at least probably about 30,000 ICX alone in ICX or
I think it's like 65,
is
70.
Okay.
It's quite a bit more.
Yeah.
We're utilizing the Balance network as much as we can. I've been on it personally since minus day one, waiting for it to come out. Kept refreshing till that 1 minute, and I've been using it basically 24/7. Personally, I made the mistakes early on in the first couple of days with my own account, and I've learned from that experience, and I've been able to bring it to the AUM AUM, and I do believe now we have over 10,000 Balance tokens, which are all in the pool, and collecting those network fees. So yeah, we're doing great with Balanced. We're waiting for AUM to come out. Our tap, we're very positive on tap, and especially us being so involved in Icon Bet and knowing what's coming. And we're just looking forward to all the everything on Icon. And there's always that saying where everyone always says, "Oh, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the tech." And part of it's true, but first comes the money, where everyone's looking to make money or how to acquire more money, and that kind of brings you into the tech and makes you start actually caring about the network you're on. And I know all of us here, we're really into Icon, and we really actually do care about the tech. And I'm not just saying it's all about the tech, but as much as the money matters, I think all of us here want to see Icon succeed just as much as we want to make money for our lives.
Yep. No, great. Look, I think I have more questions, but I feel a lot of everything you've said has answered quite a lot of what has come through from people, especially Magician and John True Crypto. And one of the last parts, some of the questions I haven't asked, because I feel what you've explained with the DAO plans with the DAO kind of answers a lot of that, because the end goal is to get the DAO set up where everyone has a bit of a stake in it, can give direction, and if things just like the tap token governance, etc., if people have a view, they can put it up for vote and get a bit more direction and consensus amongst the token holders. So I won't dive into that. I feel we've had a very comprehensive discussion. Icongrapher, is there any other questions you have?
No, I think that pretty much covered everything. And I thought I already knew a lot about the project, but I certainly learned a lot more too. So I assume everyone who's listening did as well.
Well, there's one more.
Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there's one more thing we didn't touch on. We did put a Medium article about it. We talked about it in our chat room and on Twitter. But is our milestone payouts, which is something that was announced recently. So I don't know if you guys know about it.
Paulo, you haven't been listening to our news episodes, are you? I gave a comprehensive breakdown of it.
Come on, Paulo.
Exposed, Paulo.
I'll be honest. I missed a few of them. I've been super busy with all this stuff. I didn't even know what day it was today. I almost missed this meeting.
I like it. Actually, he almost did it. And Icongrapher had the best joke. He said, "That's why you guys are called asset management and not time management." Oh, and I just laughed my ass off on that.
The time these days have gotten away from me. Sometimes I don't know what day it is, if it's the weekend, the weekday. There's just so much going on with all the projects and Icon in general. So that's my fault then.
No, look, you know what? It's coming. I do a terrible injustice of breaking down some of these announcements. So spend 2 minutes. Tell us about the reward system that's been put in place.
Well, it's very simple. What we've done is we've made a chart where once we hit certain milestones in the AUM, so every 5 million USD the AUM receives or makes, we will pay out 1 million to AUM token holders. So this is just another way to give back, another form of passive income. It also kind of relieves some of the fear of, what happens if the AUM gets too big, because that has been a question in the chat too. About, kind of goes back on, what happens if we all die, or how about if someone wants to take the AUM, where if we're giving back on these milestones, it takes away a little bit of fear. Like, look, you're getting money along the way every single day. Every time it hits 5 million, there's going to be a payout. So it's another form of passive income. So you get your daily rewards. You're going to get this lump sum. Hopefully, in the future, these 5 million milestones come quick, and it's just another way to pay out AUM holders and to give them something to look forward to.
And just to kind of go back to the DAO structure, but I think this is kind of a super important point about that, is that while right now the payouts are supposed to be whatever every 5 million that the acquires or whatnot, but once we get towards a DAO structure, which is kind of the end goal, is token holders will be able to vote if they want the payout to be every 10 million instead, or if for whatever token holders want it to be more of a kind of dividend paying out token where they can, every time the goes up 500K. So it's like, and that was kind of the end goal, or not even the end goal. That was kind of the original plan when we came up with this, was to make IAM into a DAO eventually. And I think that not only allowing token holders to be able to make decisions on interpretation of the fund, I think giving them the option to decide on these payouts and stuff like that. That's where the governance token will really get its value from. So, and I know Gio talked a lot about the DAO, so I'll be quick, but I think we have been having a lot of talks about it recently, and we're doing a lot of research on different DAOs, a lot of DeFi DAOs and stuff like that, and kind of seeing how we can benefit the IAM token holders the best. We really want to make sure that we don't cannibalize the project or do anything to hurt the value of the token when we do this DAO. So that's why this is probably going to take a while for us to either determine what we want to do and then program, or whatever we decide to do. But basically, for everyone who's been having the DAO questions, we are doing the research, and we've had extensive conversations about it already. And we even have a couple projects that we are thinking about basing it on. So no need to worry about that.
No, thanks, Shik. That's good to hear. A bit more insights and research being done, and it's a real good call out, because it's not you don't just launch a DAO. A lot of research needs to go to play here, because the coordination aspect and what the DAO can actually do, etc. I know I've been exploring it personally as well, just doing a bit of research, and it's just turns into one of those mazes. But yeah, cool, excellent. Thank you. Is there anything else? I was actually going to come back to you guys. Shik, Polo, Gio, anything else you'll want to add before we close this off? We are over an hour now, so, and I know everyone's going to be listening to this anyway, so happy for it to go over. But any other call outs?
Yeah, I just real quick, I really want to call out to our community. We have an amazing community. Me, Polo, and Shik are mainly on the United States side. Or sorry, on the North America side, because Paulo's not in the United States. But like when we're sleeping, our community handles questions and new people coming in, and really they're absolutely amazing. And I'm not going to say names because I don't want to play favoritism or anything. I mean, they know who they are. They participate all the time. They ask us questions all the time. They help out a lot, and we really appreciate that.
It's a good call out. Definitely, the chat is great in there. I appreciate you taking the time to call me out as a great community member. Thank you, Gio.
I mean, I mean, half the time you're just doing these podcasts, and I mean,
I'm kidding. Cool. Look, thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming on to the podcast. Everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed the content. If you wanted to know more, jump in the Telegram chat. We'll have everything in the show notes. And lastly, make sure you subscribe and share this around. If you've listened to this episode and thought, oh my God, I didn't realize what Icon Asset Management is, and on the flip side going, I have friends that would absolutely love this, well, share this podcast, get them to subscribe, get them listening, get them to join the Icon ecosystem. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Let's sign off. Take care all.